Bill, Orthodoxy and Jordan Peterson.
So, you talked about earlier this Jungian kind of paradigm that Jordan Peterson operates within, and I think that there's been times where I'm listening to him, and it almost sounds like he's going to break out of it and kind of move past. In terms of even just like his discussions of Christ and wondering, he's talked about how the archetypical narrative and what he called the objective they can actually meet at times. And like I remember one time he was speaking with Jonathan Pajot on that, and I think Pajot almost leaped out of his chair and said, "Yes, that's the incarnation." Right? The idea that you can break forward, you can break out of this archetypical framework. It gets you so far, but there's a world right beyond that, right? And I almost feel like Jordan Peterson has been very close. And that conversation, by the way, between Jordan Peterson and Jonathan Pajot was at one of the low points in Jordan Peterson's struggle with his health and just coming out of that, and very raw and emotional. And I've seen him pull back, I think. And I think that in part, Peterson's a very fiercely independent individual, right? And I think that he's mindful of the fact that he's seen by some as a prize to be won, and he resists that idea, right? So I wonder how much of this, caginess on his part when it comes to, confronting the deeper realities and demands of the incarnation and the resurrection, maybe there's some of that reticence on his part. But one thing I do know, so like, look, I leave it up in God's hands as to where Jordan Peterson ends up, right? But like, I'm fascinated by his journey. But one thing I think is very true is that he's paved a way for a lot of people to find the doorsteps of the church. And so the question is, what do we do with those people, right? And, it's like the Tim Arnolds of this world. How do we get them through the door because they're ready? And something that really strikes me about Peterson, I grew up a Protestant and I converted to Orthodox. And one of the themes that Peterson really harps upon that I did not hear in my Protestant upbringing, but I hear it in Orthodoxy, is this idea of sacrifice, right? Peterson talks about it as responsibility, embracing responsibility. But another way to put it is this idea of sacrifice, and that the call to the ascetical life in the Orthodox Church is a walk of sacrifice. You deny yourself, pick up your cross, and you follow Christ. And he even mentioned that, like you said, pick up your cross and walk up the hill. And that's something that is prevalent in Jordan Peterson's vocabulary, right? His lexicon is full of that. And that's something that you don't hear in other, I think, strands of Christianity as much as you do in Orthodoxy. So hence there's that opportunity to usher people into the church, I think.
Right. But the issue is that what he means by picking up your cross usually does not mean what we as Orthodox Christians mean, right? Like this is the problem. So you can interpret that unless he's willing to go to the point where we speak about that in very specific terms, whereas someone could walk away from that and say, well, he means for me to, start a business or be a better person or whatever. Those things may be true, but they're not going to save you.